Hey, Chad Peterman here, your host of the Can't Stop the Growth podcast, a show that advances the home services industry and beyond. In this exclusive series, I've joined forces with Camp Digital to bring you powerful learnings that advance you and your business in the realm of all things marketing. Together, we bring content that empowers you to build a positive, healthy workplace for you, your people, and your bottom line. So let me officially pass the mic to Camp Digital for today's episode, chock full of insights that you can take and apply to your growth. Now listen and grow.
At Camp Digital, we know that staying competitive is paramount. Whether you're a seasoned business owner or just starting out, this series provides you with the tools and knowledge to prepare and advance your home service business to thrive in this dynamic landscape.
In this episode of Around the Campfire, I had the absolute pleasure of sitting down with Dave Carroll, who is the founder of Dope Marketing based out of Minneapolis. After phasing himself out of his own profitable home service business, he made the decision to take all that he learned and help other businesses grow. Dave started Dope Marketing after realizing there was a better way to help companies grow using direct mail and traditional marketing. Dope helps businesses send automated direct mail, handwritten notes, and gift boxes to prospects and customers across the country with no minimum order. Now you may ask, you know what, is direct mail even still relevant? Well, yes it is. And Dave brought it in this interview. He brought you guys so many great ways to not only target specific audiences through direct mail, but also some really targeted ways to also interact and engage with your existing clients. I learned a lot in this episode, and I hope you do too, because it was a really great conversation full of actionable items that you can take back to your home service business today. Thanks for listening.
Well, today I am really excited to sit down with Dave from Dope Marketing. He is the founder and president of Dope Marketing, and welcome to the show. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, I'm excited. So I read that you started your first business at 24 years old.
I did. Yes.
So how did you get into this crazy world of home service marketing?
Yeah. So when I was 24, I opened a power washing and window cleaning company here in the Twin Cities because I had never really done anything else as far as having a job. And I knew 2 or 3 years into that business that it's just like, it was a great living. I could work hard. I could provide for my family. My wife was also involved in the business, but it just wasn't what I was put on this earth to do. Home service a lot of times can feel like you're just in a world of unsolvable problems where like you don't know what's going to happen when you get into the office that day. A job site got messed up yesterday. Jimmy's not showing up for work. So one of the techs looked at Karen's cats wrong or drove over her grass. It was just like all these things that were happening. And for me, it was just like, I saw what I could do or where I could grow with the home service business. But I felt like after a couple of years in it, I just saw the solutions for some bigger problems for home service business owners. You know, so many home service spaces, the barrier to entry can be a little bit low. It's a truck, a ladder, some tools, some whatever to kind of get started. And I was never a technician. I never came up in the trades. I never really understood, not from an application of a service, from the sale of a service. That was never really my background. And so the aha moment that I really had was when I started to define what success was in the home service trades. You know, I want to get off the truck. I only want to be doing estimates. I want to be doing like the bigger stuff. That still wasn't just scratching the itch for me. And I knew that there were some more problems that I kind of wanted to sink my teeth into or solve.
Okay, so how did that translate into starting Dope Marketing?
Yeah, so 4 years into my home service business, I created a product. It was called Proposal. It was the equivalent of like a Panda Doc or a DocuSign or something like that. It was a glorified PDF merger that made estimates pretty. So when you made it to getting off the truck, you could use this tool. And I had no clue what I was doing. I couldn't spell software. But we sold the thing to 400 people in 90 days for $30 a month. And I was like, oh, recurring revenue? Data? This makes way more sense than going out and flipping a squeegee all day. And so when I saw the software side of the world, and then I got exposed to data, because what we would do for that software company, because it was a proposal software, we would do sales training on like how to get in front of property managers or facility managers or engineers, and then some of the email templates or the reach outs or the stuff you would do to use the proposal software. And then I got into the world of selling data, residential lists, business lists. And over the course of a couple of years, what I identified was like out of 10 lists, Megan's call center is buying 4 of the lists, Dave's direct mail company is buying 4 of the lists, and then Sarah's business is buying 2 of the other lists. So we started brokering a lot of direct mail. I always joke, like, if you would have told me 3.5 years ago I would own a print shop, Megan, I would tell you you were crazy. That was not the plan at all. Like, Dope is a software company. But the application of making something simple that was otherwise difficult. Direct mail is going to take anyone who's listening, watching, is going to 2 to 8 weeks to set up a direct mail campaign. And I had a vision that should be able to get done in 60 seconds, like 2 minutes, something just a much shorter amount of time. And so from the home service to the data to the brokering or kind of middlemanning direct mail, I'm not saying I'm Steve Jobs, but the idea of end-to-end control of the entire transaction, I really feel like that, and I felt like there was a problem to solve there, thus the evolution and growth of Dope Marketing.
Very cool. You know, you hear this said a lot, you know, with direct mail. Is it still relevant? Is it still a relevant way to market your business?
It's a great question. Thankfully, the answer is yes. I like to say, like, entrepreneurs have 5 fingers on their hands for a reason. 4 things you're doing that's working, 1 thing you can add that could replace any of the 4 at any given time. Now, depending on your industry, your growth pattern, your capacity, your seasonality, I believe that direct mail plays a part in every single business. But sadly, so I was born in 1985. Sadly, a lot of the strategies that are being taught are coming from the year I was born, and that's just wrong. And so I think that a lot of things that have been done in the past with direct mail, like other things in the world, we've evolved, we've changed, technology is advanced, CRM data is advanced, the way that we run our business, intimacy, Amazonification, instant gratification, DoorDash immediately, like these things and the way that consumers operate, I do not believe anymore in a shotgun marketing approach. So when people hear things like, well, Dave, I thought direct mail is dead. That way of doing the shit is completely dead. 100%. No one should be doing that. I like to say direct mail, along with any marketing, it's getting more touches with less people. That's what we like to focus on. And direct mail plays a part of that.
So let's talk about that, you know, an old way of conducting your direct mail strategy and now, because there's so many different ways to reach people. So when you set up a campaign and you're looking at how someone might do that, and I know with Dope, it's automated, how would you recommend they have this huge target market, right? They have this huge geographical area where they reach their customers. How do they dial that in? How do they dial that in and make it relevant and high frequency?
So I have some really good advice for anyone that is using a CRM in their business. Sadly, if you're listening to this and you're not tracking your customers, I don't have an answer for you. But for anyone that is using a CRM, there's a very simple exercise. You got this huge market. Let's say we're sitting in the Twin Cities right now. There's 3 million people within 7 counties, and all of them can get their windows washed, but we can't touch all of them. The idea is if you go into your CRM and you download all of the jobs that you collected an invoice on last year, you put that in a spreadsheet. In Excel or Google Sheets or anywhere, there's this half diamond in the left-hand corner. It will highlight the entire spreadsheet. You're going to go to data and you're going to sort that list of addresses that you collected money from by zip code. Depending on how big your market is, your top 5 to 10 zip codes. You're going to look at those. How many jobs did you complete in each zip code? If it's your top 3, if it's your top 5, if it's your top 10, depending on your population, your market, so you can pick, but between 3 and 10 zip codes. You're going to allocate for the rest of this year up to 60% of your marketing budget in just those zip codes. Because for whatever reason, what we don't realize a lot in the home service space is that your data will tell a story if you allow it to. And if you simply look at the things that you were doing well last year from a location perspective, you can look at dialing down your messaging on a zip code basis simply by taking the top zip codes where you service work last year and allocate over half, I like to say 60% plus, of your marketing budget and the touches you're going to get in those zip codes to start.
And you're saying everything digital, everything traditional, focus on those zip codes.
Literally like down to like, if you have a truck that's out of the field or the kids are on vacation, so you have 3 or your 4 trucks are in the field, you got one sitting at the shop, go park that thing at a high-end grocery store in that zip code instead of leaving it at your office. Like every single touch you could think of for your business, you cannot go wrong focusing on the zip codes where you had more density last year.
And would you recommend going back like 3 years, or do you really focus to the last year?
The last year, because again, like things can change, markets can open up. You might have hired an employee that just happened to be the head football player at the local high school that knows everyone, and you're getting more work from that. You might not know why. And this is where it goes into like, without being Bill Nye the science guy of data, if you simply look, I think, Megan, you can even go more granular. You could go to like Q3 of last year. If you're marketing for Q3, like the closer you get. Now, I'm not going to say go to that 1 week of last year and figure it out, but like less analysis, the better here. Even if you've been open for 10 years, my power washing company's been open for 14 years. We do this exercise every quarter.
That's awesome advice. Now, would you even recommend within that, those like 5 to 10 zip codes, would you then segment like certain areas where you're talking specifically to that audience? Like, let's say there's a neighborhood and, or a school district you support or something very specific. Would you then hyper target with a message specifically for them as well?
So I wouldn't necessarily go as granular to the neighborhood from this logic. I would go more for the service. So I'll give you an example, like Lion's Share Maintenance, my power washing company. We do window cleaning, gutter cleaning, pressure washing, and we added Christmas light installation 6 years ago. I didn't know how drastic it was, but a gutter cleaning customer is a very different profile than a holiday light installation customer. So you might talk to them a little bit differently in your messaging for the service. So instead of going localized like Edina versus Minnetonka versus Bear Path or something like that, some neighborhoods here in the Twin Cities we could rattle off, I go more to like time of year and the service. Because in home service, no matter what vertical you're in, HVAC, plumbing, electric, roofing, solar, it doesn't matter. There's better targeting than it's a 40 to 60-year-old homeowner that is in their house and makes $100,000 a year. Like, it's so easy to go there with it. I think it's more about, instead of going neighborhood, local, targeted messaging, I like the idea of asking people about if they have a problem that you have an answer to at a specific time of the year, as opposed to calling out the neighborhood.
Got it. So within those zip codes, are you recommending EDDM? What type of direct mail are you recommending?
Yeah, so I think like there's a time and a place for every door direct mail, saturation mailing, where you're just hitting everyone. I'll go to like gutter cleaning season. We do a lot of EDDM. Or like if I'm in Phoenix during the summer in the HVAC industry, I could probably do a lot more EDDM because everyone needs that. When I go to a different service, let's say a higher end like installs for new systems or Christmas lights or retail roofing that's not storm insurance based, you're speaking the language of that service. And so it's not as much of a broad blanketed messaging like you would do a EDDM, which I would compare to like a Facebook boosted post. You're going to get a broad message in front of a bunch of people. When I think about like sending direct mail to a targeted list, more similar to like AdWords, like someone searching for something, I want to know these people are in $1 million house. They've lived there for 5 years. They have more than 2 kids in the household. So like with most marketing, I think there's a time and a place, and without going completely back to the, entrepreneur 4 fingers on a hand example, with direct mail, it's very important to understand the difference between doing like a saturation, bigger, blanketed mailing versus like sending to a targeted list. I love direct mail campaigns where you're sending to a targeted list of 300 people, but you're doing it every week for 8 weeks in a row versus like an EDDM mailing where you might drop 10,000, but you're only doing that like once a month. It kind of depends on the service, the time of year, the industry, and of course, what worked in your business at this time last year?
What do you think about having multiple offers in a piece? Like I see that a lot where you get a piece and it's like 10 different offers. Do you think that makes sense, or do you think it should be more simplified?
There's a middle of the line. So depending on your industry, there are certain industries, like let's go to roofing first. There's only so many things you can offer for a new roof. Free gutter installation update, free gutter guards, free inspection, free roof tune-up maintenance plan or whatever. When you go to a service like HVAC, electric, plumbing, you might offer 3 services where you're giving people a couple options. I never like to see more than 3 offers. If you imagine as you're listening to this, that postcard in your head that vertically has like 3 coupons, those are great. Like that can work. You have your foot in the door, $49 to $97 tune-up. You have your middle of the ground where your system update, maintenance plan, repair, check-in, like that time of year, whenever you're looking at. Then you have your financing, full system. So depending on your business, your customer can kind of get a menu of things to offer option. But for me, if I can keep it simple and take the industry, the time of year, the vertical out of all of it, I like one offer that gives someone a reason to do something. A free inspection, a free estimate, so that doesn't give anyone a reason to do something. But if you really think about like your true foot in the door offer, I have faith that every business owner listening to this, if a marketing company generated you a qualified lead, you know what to do with it. Like you know how to explain what you do, talk them through, upsell, downsell, identify problems, ask the right questions. Like that's why you're in business. So instead of the approach, and there's a time and a place for everything, but that like over offering too many things, I think an offer is essential on every marketing campaign because people are busy. And as much as we want to believe that like they only care about everything we're talking about, there's a pretty scary statistic that's real. Only 3 to 7% of your target customer is actively looking for what you're doing right now. The other 93 to 97% of people, it is your job to get in front of them so when they need what you have, they remember that you're the solution. And so when you think about that from an offer, a branding, a multi-offer thing, it's like, how can you give someone enough reason in the impressions that you're getting, those touches that we'll talk about in a minute, like identifying where is that middle ground? I'll kind of land the plane here on, if you are in a multi-service business, it is okay to have up to 3 offers on a marketing piece, but the design's got to be right. They got to tie together. It's got to make sense. If I had it my way perfectly with a design, marketing, sales background, you would have one offer a quarter that you can be rotating or testing against another offer so that when you go through that quarter, this time next year, you can look at those offers you are running and decide which ones, unless you're planning on selling your business December 31st and you're just running a fire sale, there's strategy for that. But I think one place that business owners fail in relation to like marketing and offers is realizing that like, when you run a marketing campaign and it doesn't work, sometimes that's just as good as one that did work because you know what to not do again. And so when you look at the comparison, if you know that you're going to be in business or the plan is to be in business this time next year, the things that you're looking for are the boring parts of business that are duplicatable that you can do over and over to keep scaling.
For sure. You just touched on this, so we got to talk about it. Free offers. What do you think about that?
It depends. So it's like, and I don't
like a wave dispatch fee or something.
Yeah, so I think like if someone truly understands what the cost of your service is, free has as much value as you give it. One offer that's got dramatically like overused in the roofing space is free inspection. So we were playing with it, and what we did, we still have hundreds, if not thousands of roofing companies we work with that use a free inspection offer. And whatever vertical you're in, just close your eyes and think about this for a second. Instead of using free, put a price, cross it off, and then show that it's free. Like it's that simple to make a tweak when you have something visual. You just have to explain the value because free has no value to me. I'm busy. My time isn't free. But when you explain what something costs and then show them that it's free, that gives it some weight.
What do you think about dollar amounts versus percentages off?
Yeah, I'll kind of go in the same direction. So like 10% off a full system install for my HVAC system doesn't make any sense to me because I don't know what the hell that costs.
Exactly.
It sounds like you're just going to make it up and give me the discount.
Right.
Now, for a service like gutter cleaning, then I've owned my house for a couple of years and I know I paid a kid down the street $100. I paid the franchise company $300. I have somewhat of a gauge of what this costs because I paid for it every year. If you can ask yourself every time you want to run a dollar amount versus a percentage, sit down and look in the mirror or get your staff and ask yourself honestly, like, does anyone really know what the hell this costs to equate the percentage off? If I had to pick one or the other feet to the fire, I'm going dollar amount every single time versus a percentage because there's no room for question or error there.
Agreed. All right, we talked about CRM. You have the data. What if you are an existing company and you're starting a new location and you do not have the data in that location? What approach are you going to take?
So if you understand the medium home value in that new market, it's what matters. A lot of times, in being in the data business for about 10 years now, Dave, I want to hit the ballers. I want people over 150,000 income. I want them to have money. I want Sarah, Megan, whoever. I got bad news for you. Doesn't matter how much they make. It matters what their house is worth because everyone's information isn't public. Remember when you were 19 years old and you were going to buy a piece of jewelry for your sweetheart and you went to get a line of credit at Roger and Holland's jewelry store and you put that you made $100,000 so they gave you more money? That's still in your social profile of where they say how much income you make. So it's not always right. But what we know, especially in the home service space, we like homeowners more than we like renters, right? Like we want people that own their home. And one thing about a homeowner that you can guarantee is that if they live in that home, the bank had to write a mortgage for it so they can afford to live there. So when you get into a new market or a new area, or you're just doing research around this stuff, the average home value of, let's go, we have this strategy at Dope called MTV Cribs, for any of you my age, remember that show. So when we go to the ballers, MTV, Snoop Dogg, Welcome to My Crib, the value of an affluent home in Miami, in Manhattan, in Minneapolis, and Mena, Arkansas are 4 different numbers. And hopefully, if you're opening a new location, first location, second location, 10th location, whatever, you're doing it for a reason, probably because it's a good market. If you understand the medium home value, like for instance, here in the Twin Cities, we do not advertise our services to anyone with a home under $500,000. Why? Because there are great suburbs with people that have dough or made it to the suburbs, like Woodbury in Minnesota is a great example. But there's a bunch of $450,000 homes with people who live in the suburbs that are living paycheck to paycheck that can't necessarily afford to spend $700 to $1,500 maintaining their home 4 times a year. Well, that's the customer that we want to get in front of. So when you go to a new market, if you don't have jobs in that area, if you don't have things in your CRM to reference, there's 2 ways to go about this. 1, get on Zillow, look up the neighborhoods of homes for sale, and just understand the pockets or the densities of where these markets are of that target ideal avatar customer that you're looking for. If you are opening a second location in a same or similar market, you're just like, hey, I'm doing good here in Dallas. I'm going to go out to another market in Frisco now or whatever. And they're kind of similar people. You have my permission to still use that data from your CRM to understand your target customer. Because no matter what, they are a homeowner and they probably own a home of a certain value to need and want your services. So you can get a start there, run that location for a couple months, now start analyzing the jobs that are coming in and find those sweet spots. When you start looking at the jobs that come in a map, the density or clusters of jobs, even estimates that are being completed, that data will tell a story. And even in a new market, that only takes about 90 days if you kind of got your foot to the pedal a little bit to let that data back out.
What about like interacting with unsold estimates through direct mail? What do you think about that?
I got to ask my wife. I got to think about it. So like rehash reactivation, there's a ton of that in home service with email and text. The example I like to use is like, Megan, let's go digesting content, just as a human. Megan might like to read the book. Dave might like to watch the video. Eric might want to listen to the audio. When we got our EIN, a lot of times we didn't understand that E doesn't stand for employer, it stands for ego. And we got to get our ego out of the way. Just because we don't look at Facebook ads, we don't click on Google, we don't read direct mail, we don't scan QR codes on yard signs, that doesn't mean that your customers don't. And so when you think about like how messages are digested, how people are looking at different types of content, you have to be selfish for your customers in the way that they do things. So just the analogy, without being a blanketed answer, of like covering the bases, removing your ego from your decision making, and understanding that like your customers have 100 problems during the day. You probably solve 2 to 5 of those perfectly. They only care so much. So as long as you're putting out the right content in the right place and understanding like people have different needs and wants, we have to be selfish for everybody.
Great tips. We're going to switch gears now, Dave, because we're going into a crazy season. And in some markets, it's going to be crazier than others, but there's a lot of noise out there with the election season coming up. And in markets where states are up for grabs, I think it's going to get noisier. And so what is your recommendation on customers on ways, should they be spending more? Should they be changing it up? Like, what are your thoughts on this?
I was on a panel last year at Tommy's show, and I think it was, forgot who said this. It was something about you have to be, in a year like this year, you have to be doing more blocking than you're doing tackling. And what I took from that statement was you have to be looking at what's currently working in your business, because like life, business, relationships, all of it ebbs and flows. And when you go back to the foundation of what's working, like one thing we saw during the pandemic was that home service is tried and true. It's why we saw the private equity flood, the VC money, all this stuff. Like when the world was burning, what we saw was when you put people in their house, they're still going to spend their money. They're going to improve their house. They're going to fix it. 9 out of 10 Americans, the biggest transaction they'll ever make in their life is Megan handing Dave a check for the home she bought, second, third, and fourth, or maintenance, improvement, or upkeep to that property. It's not braces. It's not vacation. It's not school. It's the investment in the American dream still. That's why we're so blessed to be in the home service space. And I say all that because when you look at like, oh, my leads are going down, Google's not working as good. Well, yeah, this happens every Q4 or election season. Bigger companies are spending money online, so the algorithm is more expensive to get the same impressions that it would have been at the other time of the year. Now you add a couple things on top of that, and certain advertising channels become harder to prove out, or they seem more expensive, or it's the things as business owners that aren't in our control. I can't control how much my Google click is. I can't control how much 1,000 impression costs on Facebook. What I can control is what people I get my brand in front of based on who has the needs for my business, regardless of what's going on in the world. I usually keep this book in my office to wave it around. I know we're not on video, but if you want to read one book that will get you through any hard time like we're going through right now, it is Dan Kennedy's No BS Guide to Marketing to the Affluent. Because if you understand that 3% of the country, none of this shit affects them at all. Not one bit. And so when you define who that is in your market, it's Arkansas, it's Minneapolis, it's Miami, it's Manhattan. Who is the person that no matter what is going to continue to use your services? And when you go into more blocking versus tackling, the neighbors of your current jobs are 10 times more likely to hire you than anyone else in the world. Why? It's not because they hang out every weekend and they're sharing the lawnmower and cracking a beer at the cul-de-sac and their kids are playing at the park. That's all tried and true. It's because, especially in the home service space, the people that live next door to the people that you're currently servicing, their house was built around the same year, of the same materials, by 3 to 5 of the same builders, meaning the things that they're maintaining, improving, or upkeeping at their house, they're just more likely to have the same things going wrong. And so when you think about blocking, instead of running a shotgun marketing campaign to the private neighborhood where you've done 2 jobs in the past 5 years because they're ballers, how about going after the singles and doubles that are all around the jobs in the areas you're currently servicing? because the data, if you let it tell a story, will say, if I'm doing a maintenance job, a repair job, an upkeep job, which led to some of the bigger jobs that I want, the full system installs, the re-roof, the whatever it is, if I'm simply understanding that the average local business is getting 2 to 4 touches on their ideal customer, and our friends at Harvard told us that it takes 7 to 11 touches to get a cold consumer to remember a brand, the work you're already doing, you're getting the touches on the people who actually need you more than anyone else. And now if you go into the blocking concept of simply reinvesting in those neighborhoods, more door hangers, more flyers, more Facebook ads, more trucks, more t-shirts, more views, more eyeballs, it doesn't matter what happens in the world. There could be a meteor coming. There could be an earthquake tomorrow. There could be all the crazy stuff that we've seen. They stole our governor. Apparently they're going to have to be vice president maybe. All these crazy things that we're not in control of that affect our business because people are more scared to spend money when crazy things are going on. If you just think more blocking, where is the closest opportunity with what I'm currently doing well to get more eyeballs on my company in front of more people who are simply more likely to use my service? And I have great news. Those people all live next door to the people that you're currently serving. Like it's right in that proximity. And so,
yeah, well, let's talk about that. So with dope marketing, do you have the ability then to, let's say you do a job and then send kind of like a radius bomb to customers around there?
Exactly. So yeah, we call it a neighborhood blitz. And so what you can do is doesn't matter what CRM you're on, HubSpot, Salesforce, Zoho, Monday, Job Nimbus, Service Titan, House Call Pro, whatever. When you mark a job, approved, completed, started, any status, we can make postcards automatically go to the neighbors with no minimum order.
So how many neighbors would you recommend going to in that scenario?
Depending on the service. So let's go like, if you're a broader service that can help more people, that's maybe a mid-level ticket, 25 to 50 is what I like. 25 to 50 nearest neighbors. Now, if you're doing something a little bit more intimate, granular, building decks, constructing fences, doing stuff like that, where like you're going to be there for a little, I like that number to be tighter, as low as 5 to 10. But when you pick that number, your budget's going to go up. So you have to understand, going back to our question about the offers and the response and stuff, is this for branding or are we looking at this as a campaign for lead generation? Because the more of a show that you put on in the house, the tighter I like to see that. If you're doing carpet cleaning inside of the house, you might want to hit the nearest 25 neighbors because Stanley Steamer is in and out in 2 hours and you might not even see them. But if I'm building a pond in the backyard, the nearest 10 neighbors are being affected and I can play off that messaging. Hey, pardon the dust, pardon the noise. We're starting a job. We're going to have a dumpster in the area if you need to throw something in there. Let us know if we're bugging you versus like, if I'm coming to wash your windows or clean your gutters, I'm a ninja. You might not even know I was there. So I want to give you a more aggressive offer to give you a reason to call me because you saw the yard sign. You might have got the door hanger, but I think like without giving too broad of an answer, as low as 10, as high as 50, but really like the sweet spot is 25 neighbors once a week for 4 weeks in a row. We call it our brick by brick strategy. Build your brand brick by brick, 25 cards, 25 neighbors, 4 weeks in a row.
4 weeks in a row. That's what I was going to next ask is the frequency with those. Do you go over a certain threshold of job, like a dollar amount that you would go after or?
So one thing we do, we have a bunch of technology with those handwritten machines and we do some like cookie gift boxes and stuff like that. We can get very granular where like depending on the service, the price of the service, even the technician associated with the service, we can grab that data. We have companies that like, if Megan closes the job as the sales rep, it's Megan's headshot, it's Megan's QR code, it's Megan's call tracking number because Megan was associated with that job in the CRM. I think that the cadence of the mail will depend, like for my power washing business, I'm not dripping every single gutter cleaning customer 4 times. I don't need to do that. Now, the Christmas light services and just get your gears turning, whatever industry you're in as you're thinking about this, My higher end service, I'm hitting them more. I'm going more granular. You had asked previously in the call around like calling out the neighborhood and stuff like that. The higher end the service, the more I'm willing to spend, the more I'm willing to get into. I had some really, really sad news this week. Do you know Jim Rulin from Giftology? He passed away on Monday. And me and my friend were just talking about him the week before. Jim will say, and Giftology is just, there's a bunch of us that are talking now, just getting the messaging out of that more. It's such powerful content. Jim said in that book, if you collect $10,000 from a customer over the course of a year, you're supposed to spend 10% of that money repeating, touching that customer, following up with them, giving them reasons to talk about you and to remember. And so like, when I think about cadence of how much mail is someone getting, how often are you sending it, what's included in it, direct mail is still going to be the most targeted way ever to put one message in one person physically. Outside of AdWords, I think it's the best lead that can come in for a business. And to that point, it's like, we have clients. I made this campaign called 52 Weeks of Dope. I have clients, we send a postcard every single week of the year until they respond. And we crack off their responses. We got an envelope last week to Lion Share of a woman that lives in a very affluent neighborhood here in the Twin Cities. It was like a manila envelope, and it had like construction, like the red and yellow thing on it. And on the front it said, please stop sending me mail. And inside like 18 postcards. To me, that's just as good as a lead. Because we know that it's actually getting the response that we're looking for. So I think it's really important to understand like marketing touches all have value, and the value of a Facebook ad, an Instagram ad, a billboard, a truck wrap, a display ad, a direct mail piece, a flyer, a yard sign, they all stack up to build trust. I'm pushing my touches in the places where I think that the chips stacking are going to have the most value.
I love that. I could talk to you forever, by the way. I have so many questions. But I want to talk about measuring, because a lot of people look at a campaign, with a KPI and they're like, well, my direct mail didn't work. I got 3 calls. And it's a real misconception. So can you talk about tracking and recommendations that you make and some thoughts that you have on that to customers?
So with most things in life, there are some things we're in control of. There are some things we're not in control of. And what I've learned in my 39 years here on the planet is that we have to understand how the things that we have control of affect us and how the things we don't have control of affect us. And the reason I say all that anytime I get asked about tracking, specifically with direct mail, is like, there's some truths that we know. We can track, you can put a call tracking number on a marketing campaign. You can see how many people called or text. You can put a QR code. You can see if people are scanning it. If you have a landing page behind that QR code, you can see how many people visited the landing page. For how many people visited the landing page, you can see how many people filled out the form. So you have it kind of in a box. Direct mail, what a lot of companies miss is there's an easier way to track it. We don't know the attribution window, how people look at their leads in their business. If someone contacted you on January 1st, but then didn't buy until June, are you giving the attribution to the touch that happened in June? Or are you looking back and say, well, they came in January. I got that first initial touch. Then I was building my reputation, and come June, they decided to use me. The way we do that with Dope, and where I think any traditional direct mail company should do this, it's very simple. When you start working with a direct mail company, you have an amount of customers in your CRM. Say it's 1,000. You have 1,000 people in your CRM. As you're sending mail month over month, you should be looking at how many people got added to your CRM every month, just from your business. You're doing a bunch of other stuff outside of the direct mail. So you went January, you had 1,000. February, you had 1,100. March, you had 1,300. And so on and so on. You're adding 100 to however many a month. Any direct mail company should be able to show you month over month, what addresses are they sending mail to that were not in your CRM before? Now you can start looking at the attribution, and it's not a one-to-one. I don't know about you guys. I own a direct mail company, and when I get my mail every day, I am not stopping my life to interact with the postcard I got. It's, hey, honey, didn't you say we needed the gutters cleaned, or weren't you looking at something at this? Where do we put that thing? It's that reminder. Think about the people you follow online, that you've bought a course from, that you've engaged with their content, that you've downloaded a lead magnet, whatever. How many times, even just go to your friends, your relationships. How many times have you gotten on Facebook in the morning, seeing someone post something, be like, man, I haven't talked to Megan in forever. I got to call her. Or I saw Sarah did a video about something and I need to engage. When you truly think about the tracking and attribution and lift, I know everyone's favorite statement that most of us can't spell is ROI, but it's like when you look at how do I truly equate the return on investment from a marketing campaign? Well, it's easy. How many leads did I generate and how many of those jobs did we close? But outside of just saying like, well, we used a call tracking number and only 3 people called it. I can't tell you the last time that I saw an advertisement and stopped everything I was doing and picked up the phone and was like, sorry, dude, I was watching my kids, but I had to call you right now to get this. Now, if you have a good offer, sometimes there's a way to make that happen. But I think that the easiest way, all jokes aside, to track direct mail is put a date on the calendar, red X. I started sending mail on this date. And in the most simple way, very similar to our zip code exercise, take that month, understand how many contacts you had in your CRM, and every month you're sending mail, watch the lift. How many contacts got added? How many leads got generated? We don't know where they came from. You might get a postcard and go to Google. Someone might see a thing and do a whatever, or see a bus stop, do it to whatever it comes from. But you should always be able to do what's called a match back report and say, I've been sending mail. I was sending 1 postcard a month for 3 months. Give me the list of people we sent mail to. Let's match and see who's in my CRM that wasn't before is the simplest way to make it happen.
Love it. Thanks for sharing that. Well, Dave, again, I could really sit here and talk a lot longer, but let's just kind of recap and leave the audience with 3 takeaways that they could implement in their business right away, regardless that it's an election season, regardless of what's going on in the economy. What are 3 ways that we could generate some more leads from direct mail?
Without this being a complete just like pitch fest, outside of DOPE being a cute name, it actually stands for data on previous engagement. If you hold yourself accountable to find the dope in your business, all of us are entrepreneurs and crazy and chasing squirrels and doing all this stuff. You have to look at the data in your business and let it tell a story. You're doing something right. You're still in business. You're growing, you're scaling. Maybe you're at a standstill where like you're open a new location, looking at other stuff. How can what you did last year give you some guidance to what to do this year? Because the data is there if you let it tell a story, would be the first thing. The second thing is going into that exercise. I would challenge anyone listening to this to go into their CRM and let's get granular. Like you mentioned, Megan, let's not do the whole year. It's Q3 right now. I know this thing might come out in a month or 2 or whatever. I want you to think, what could you do in your business if we have 4 quarters in a year and you break them down? Q1, Q2, Q3, Q4. What is the number 1 service that leads to more work? Might not be your top dollar service, but the one that generates the most work for your crews. How could you look at the jobs you did last quarter, pick that one service, and use that to dial in whether you're going to use that data this year or next year? I think that would be another great takeaway. Third, I would say from a design side, a lot of us are really, really good at what we do for a living. It could be sales, it could be marketing, it could be installing systems, doing estimates. One thing I would guarantee 8 out of 10 of you listening are not good at is design. One of the things one of my coaches told me is, Dave, if you really want to control something, you have to give up control. And so one suggestion I would give is when it comes to design and offers on traditional marketing, give up control. Let the person that you're paying do their job. Because just like I would not know how to install a new system or a roof on a house, I do not expect a home service business owner to guide a design team on the best way to lay out a design or how to strategize offers. Give up control, even if it feels weird, even if you haven't done it before, even if it doesn't quite make sense to you, with that E of that ego. Give up more control in your designs and your offers. And like most things in life that got us to a point of success, and I'm using air quotes as we're talking, be okay with failing. Be okay with something not working right away and learning that lesson. So many of us have been hard heads our life and done things the way that we think and learned from that. if we can do that more when it comes to marketing and not do that victim approach of, oh, I've tried this, I've done it, I've been burnt, it was wrong, I hired my niece's boyfriend to run my Facebook ads, and Facebook could never work now. Get some control by giving it up and look at what other people are doing. I'll leave it on the design side with like, you want to steal like an artist. You want to be inspired. You know, Picasso didn't paint that 3-line thing of the butt that we have in our bathroom by getting inspired. No, he stole like an artist. Look at someone that something is doing that you want to be like, where you want to get the biggest company in your area, the biggest franchise, the biggest whoever. Look at what they're doing. Think about it overnight. Put your spin on it. Steal like an artist. Give up enough control for your design and your offers to work correctly with those first 2 points. I can't guarantee anything, but it's a recipe for success in those 3.
I love it. So how would someone, if they're interested in signing up with Dope Marketing, how would they sign up for a demo?
If you type in Dope Marketing to any social platform, online, anywhere you find it, I'll be the bald guy yelling on the internet about traditional marketing at you. We're somewhat easy to find.
Awesome. Well, I can't thank you enough. This has been a great conversation and so many amazing takeaways. Thank you, Dave.
Appreciate you, Megan. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for tuning in. If you'd like to get connected, you can find me at chadmpeterman.com. To see what our team's up to, you can visit petermanbros.com. As always, keep growing out there.